Hello and welcome to Go Ballistic. Now, normally on a Friday, we look ahead to a Premiership weekend, but there's no top flight league action in Scotland this weekend. It is, of course, the second round of the Premier Sports Cup, spread over Saturday and Sunday. I'm Roger Hannah, with me today, Ben Ramage. Ben, we have to look back before we look forward. What a win for Killie in Europe last night up in Tromsø.
Yeah, brilliant result for them and for Scottish football. I think, we've seen too many times in the past where Scottish teams have come up short in Europe. But I thought Killie did themselves proud. It was great to see Derek's comments about them thinking that they had the job done. I quite like that. I think he probably used that with the players as well. And I know they rode their luck a bit at times in the second half with them hitting the bar. But I still think, it's thoroughly deserved and a great tie for them going through now to Copenhagen as well.
Great celebrations last night among the Killie backroom team. If anything's going to bring you down to ground, it's Fir Park on a Sunday. They didn't do well last Sunday, 3-0 defeat at home at St Johnstone. Is it going to be a big ask to go to Motherwell and progress to the quarterfinals?
I think the tough thing is that they've now got that Copenhagen game in their heads as well. I mean, it must be really hard to kind of juggle all of those different tasks. I think the way that Derek is, I don't think he'll be taking anything lightly. It's a cup competition as well. That's also money for the club. So I'm sure that they'll be going all guns for it as well. But mentally, it must be hard to kind of juggle both of those.
St Mirren also coming back from Norway, unfortunately going out 4-2 in aggregate to Brand. They've also got an away tie against fellow Premiership opposition in Dundee United. Is that a tough trip to Tannadice on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I think Stephen's obviously talked as well. Stephen Robinson's talked about the size of the squad and how they've maybe struggled with injuries, which I think they have, especially to kind of key players. I think Alex Gogic probably shouldn't have played last night in terms of his physical fitness, but just the warrior that he is, he went for it. But I think they're going to be a really kind of patched up side going on to Tannadice. So again, a tough one. Again, it's a cup competition. They really want to get to Hampden as well. So, and I think Dundee United have started pretty well. Obviously, Jim Goodwin knows St Mirren very well. Did so well with them in that competition. So it'll be interesting to see how they both face up.
The other result we looked out for last night was Victoria Pilsen, because they got through in the Europa League. They're in the playoff round to take on Hearts. Does that affect Hearts as they go to what could be a tricky game at Falkirk tomorrow?
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of pressure on after that Dundee result. I think the Hearts fans were really quite confident, I think, after the Rangers game, but I think that's quickly brought them down to earth. And so now I don't think he can make as many changes as he did. And I think even with that Victoria game, obviously the away leg first next week, it's going to be a juggling act for him to kind of balance the team in terms of, I really don't think they can take Falkirk lightly at all. They've started so well. Their unbeaten run is still going. So that will be a really tough one for them. And Victoria is a great game in the Europa League. That's a great time.
Very much so. Rangers, they're already in the Europa League group stage. They avoid the playoff round. They were, of course, defeated by Dynamo Kiev at Hampden on Tuesday night. They're back at Hampden on Saturday night to take on St Johnstone. When you saw how Adama Sidibe and Benji Kimpioka played for St Johnstone at Rugby Park on Sunday, will they present a threat to Rangers on Saturday night?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it was surprising because last season they obviously struggled for goals, St Johnstone, whereas I think this season they have looked a lot better going forward, and obviously there is massive pressure on Rangers in this game. I don't expect Hampden to be full. There's talk about sort of protests and things outside ahead of the game, so there's a potential for quite a nasty atmosphere actually, especially if they don't get the right results. So there's a lot of pressure on the team and the players.
Celtic won at Easter Road against Hibs in the league. They've now got Hibs at Celtic Park in the cup. You would fancy a home win on Sunday afternoon, the televised game, Ben, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's a fairly safe bet, one of the safer bets. I thought Hibs did improve in the second half. They absolutely did, but I just think Celtic with the home advantage, Adamid has obviously come in. They're looking at more signings as well. So I think the atmosphere at Celtic, I think they'll be okay to take that.
Do you see any other shocks? Aberdeen at home to Championship opposition in Queen's Park, Dundee at home to Championship opposition in Airdrie. In the game you're going to, Spartans, the only team from outside the top two tiers left in the Premier Sports Cup. They host Ross County. Can we see a surprise anywhere?
Well, not just because I'm covering it, but I think that Spartans, Ross County, that is a kind of textbook banana skin tie for Ross County. I know County have started okay, but I think that could be one where you might actually see a wee outside bet come in.
A bit of breaking news this morning, just as we're coming into it, Go Ballistic. The SPFL have put out a statement updating fans on the ticketing arrangements around the Old Firm game. They confirm the Sun Sports story earlier in the week there will be no away fans at the first two derbies of the season. Celtic Park in September, the Rangers home game at the start of January, but they say the clubs have agreed to give 5% of tickets to away fans for the third and fourth league derbies this season. Is that common sense finally coming through, Ben?
I think so, yeah, and I just think it just makes for a better spectacle, doesn't it? I think in any derby, you want both sets of fans there. I just think that makes total sense, and I think it's great that hopefully that is now they can draw a line under it and they can get fans in, because you want to show Scottish football in the best possible light. And to me, having a derby of that size with just one set of fans is just underselling what that spectacle can actually be.
Well, that's great, Ben. Thank you very much.
Well, now we can hand over to Sun Sports resident Bookie Basher Jim Delahunt. Jim, we're a couple of weeks in to this Premiership season up here. What stood out for you? Any surprises? Any major moves in any of the markets?
Well, I don't know what surprised me, Roger, but I think what's disappointed me, I think, would be, and I think a lot of Hibernian fans would probably join me in this disappointment, is the way they've been playing in their first couple of weekends. So that's clearly been very disappointing for them. Celtic have probably been as dominant as we thought they would be. Rangers fans, I know that our own Andy Devlin says they're a club in crisis after a couple of weeks. So he sees more of them than I do, and I have to go along with that. So obviously they were very disappointing in that European tie during the week. So we'll see how the next few weeks pans out. But obviously we take a little break from the Premiership, Roger, this weekend for the latest instalment of the League Cup adventures for quite a few clubs, including one or two, which I'm sure we'll mention from the lower divisions. So it's going to be an interesting weekend just to take a little breather from the early Premiership altercations and just see how the cup ties go this weekend.
There's all 12 Premiership teams still in the cup, Jim. Of the non-Prem teams, Dundee host Airdrie, Aberdeen host Queen's Park, Falkirk at home to Hearts, Spartans at home to Ross County. Is there any value in those home teams?
I think a lot of people will be looking at these games this weekend, Roger, and thinking Falkirk might be the team to be with, but I'm going to disagree there. I know they had a fantastic result at Dunfermline last weekend, and I did tip them to win at Dunfermline at 19-20, so I was delighted about that. But I also tipped Hearts to lose at Dundee. The thing about that game, though, Roger, was I did not expect them to lose as heavily as they did. It was a fantastic result for Dundee. It was a very poor performance from Hearts. I think Robert Thompson described them as Hearts, hapless heads gone Hearts in his match report. And I mean, they've got to improve. They've got to be better than that. And you would think going in against now Championship opposition Falkirk that they will be better than that. It's a great opportunity for Hearts to bounce back. They've got a really busy week coming up. They've got a trip now to play Victoria Pleasant in the Europa, and then they go to Motherwell next weekend. So two very tough away trips coming up for Hearts. I think they've got to get a good performance at Falkirk. It's an ideal opportunity for them. Of course, you know as well as I do that John McGlynn knows Heart of Midlothian inside out. He'll know exactly what to expect. He'll set up his team accordingly. But I think Hearts can go there if they can improve massively on that performance against Dundee last week and get back to the kind of performance that they showed in that goalless draw against Rangers. They're more than capable of going to Falkirk and getting a victory. And that's where I think the value is this weekend, Roger, because if Hearts hadn't lost so heavily last weekend, I think they'd be 1-2 at Falkirk this weekend. They're 10-11. And I think that's very, very good value. With all respect to Falkirk, I think Hearts at 10-11, very, very good value indeed.
Kilmarnock and St Mirren heading back from Norway, contrasting results last night. Killie winning in Tromsø to go through to a playoff round against FC Copenhagen. St Mirren unfortunately losing out on aggregate to Brann. They both have difficult away games on Sunday against Premiership opposition in the Cup. Is it hard to make a case for St Mirren at Tannadice or Killie at Fir Park?
I think, Roger, I could make a better case for Kilmarnock at Fir Park. Obviously, Motherwell at the moment, they still need to replace their £1 million striker, but Kilmarnock, I think, will be on a high going to this tie. I think they're very capable of getting some kind of result. They may have to go to extra time, which for me brings the draw into the equation on Sunday between Motherwell and Kilmarnock. That's priced up at 12-5. I think that's a very attractive bet. So Kilmarnock and Motherwell, that could be a draw. So I think Kilmarnock will do fine in that trip to Fir Park. I worry about St Mirren going to Dundee United, though, and that's the game I'm going to this weekend, Roger. I'm heading up to Tannadice to watch that game, and I think Dundee United at 23-20 could be a bit of value to put one over on St Mirren. Now, the St Mirren fans will point to the fact that it was 1-1 with just a few minutes to go in their European tie during the week, but they did lose at 3-1. It will have been very, very disappointing for them after all the excitement that they've had over the past few weeks. And I think this is an opportunity for Dundee United, and of course managed by an old St Mirren boss, Jim, up there at Tannadice now. I think it's a real opportunity for Dundee United to get to the next round, and I'm going against some of my St Mirren buddies here by tipping Dundee United to win that one.
I take it we can't really build much of a case for the away teams in the other two ties. You touched on Celtic Hibs. Celtic won at Easter Road last week. They host Hibs this Sunday. And of course, St Johnstone going to Hampden, 5:45 on Saturday night to take on Rangers.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to make any kind of case for Hibernian, as I've alluded to earlier there, Roger. Celtic ranging between 1-7 and 1-12, depending where you put your £1 each way accumulator on. And of course, Rangers, well, they're at Hampden again. They weren't hugely impressive against the Ukrainian side midweek, but they range between 2-11 and 1-9 to get the better of St Johnstone. But of course, St Johnstone improved last weekend. There's no doubt about that. And I have liked the way that Craig Levine's been talking this week. Craig has many of his critics around Scottish football, but I like the way he's talking up this game. I think St Johnstone will go and give it a go. Do I think they'll give it a go enough for me to put money on them? I don't. But I suspect that they'll give Rangers a closer game than the betting suggests there. But I really can't see any hope for Hibs.
Look, we're both good Ayrshire, Jim. It's been an exciting week in God's country. Killie through in Europe, and of course Ayr, top of the championship after that 5-0 win against Airdrie. They're the only side, them and Hamilton, in action tomorrow in the championship. They could go 3 points clear. Has that early season form from Scott Brown's team changed the betting for the championship title?
I think Ayr are very, very warmly fancied now for the championship title, Roger. I met the chairman, your good friend David Smith, at Ayr Racecourse last week, and he said, top of the table's not for everyone, Jim. He said, but I think it's for us. And Ayr United are going very well indeed. I'd really fancy them. They're going to be in my top 5 this weekend in the column, Roger. Ayr United at 4-6 against Hamilton Academical. I think that's a fantastic price. They will be in my top 5. It's the only championship game on this weekend, and I think Ayr will take another massive step to being involved right at the business end of the championship table this season. It really has been fantastic. You know yourself, Scott Brown, he's brought some really decent players in there. The fans are loving the goals being banged in week after week, and I think they'll take care of Hamilton.
English Premier League season starts tonight. Manchester United against Fulham at Old Trafford. Anything catch your eye down south this weekend, Jim?
Absolutely astonished to turn TalkSport on this morning and hear Eric Ten Hag suggesting that they're not ready for a match against Fulham at home on the first day of the Premier League season. Absolutely astonished by that. They're still 4-7. I still think they'll win it, but the vibes don't sound that great at all. So maybe not a bet tonight. Maybe it's just one to watch at 4-7 with Manchester United. I'm not sure I would have a bet on the Premier League this weekend, Roger. I'll watch with great interest, of course, especially the lunchtime game on Saturday, where Liverpool travel to big spending Ipswich. There could be a little bit of value there if you fancy a shock at 7-1 Ipswich, but again, I think I'll just sit and watch. The clubs that interest me in England this weekend are Burnley, who have made a fantastic start. They're at home to Cardiff at around 4-9. That might be accumulator material there. And once we get into League One, Huddersfield have made a magnificent start to the season, and they are just 7-10 at home to Stevenage. And I think Huddersfield could be a bet for the ACA as well.
Well, Jim, we've of course got all your tips for the weekend in your column. It's online at the Scottish Sun. You can get it in the newspaper on Saturday morning, along with the favourite and our goals pull out. JD, thanks as ever.
Roger, thank you.
Once again, thanks for watching Go Ballistic. We will be back on Monday to review the weekend's action in the Premier Sports Cup second round with Chris Boyd and some more of the Sun Sport writers. You can catch Go Ballistic on all the Scottish Sun Sport platforms. And of course, remember to subscribe to the Scottish Sun Sport YouTube channel for Go Ballistic, for Coffee Club FC, and for all our fantastic video output. All the best.